Okay, before we continue on to the third poem and look at the actual content of it, I think we should talk about translation. So as you may have noticed, all three translations of the poems that I've presented to you are from different poets. We have Jack Schmidt, Richard Schaef on the second one, and W.S. Merwin on the first one. And they all approach it a little bit differently. Schaef and Merwin are both more attuned with picking a particular word so that we maintain the structure of the poem, and they are meticulous in finding something that is similar in meaning so that we can have the rhythm. Whereas Schmidt wants it to be more tonally similar, and I mean all of them, are correct in their translations. They're both still very beautiful and poetic, and they stay true to Dorotto's words. But Schmidt would rather have it make more sense rhythmically for the English language than to follow this, very strict to the format that Neruda had. So if you look at Insurgent America, the two poems beside each other, you'll notice that there's length differences in the lines and in the strophe shape, and he moves certain phrases around in order to have it make more sense in the translation, as far as he's concerned. So let's look at Insurgent America. For instance, in line 1, we have Nuestra tierra, ancha tierra, soledades. And in English, it's our land, wide land, wilderness. And it's interesting that he would choose the word wilderness, whereas the term soledades is solitude. But as he works it into the poem, you'll see that he makes specific choices to go with ideas that are prevalent in Neruda's work about wilderness and nature and how that reflects in the relationship that they have with man. And so again, in strophe 3, you can see towards the middle, there's a lot of repetition in Neruda's word choice. So he says, fue callada su flor, fue rechazada, su reunión de luz fue combatida. And in the translation, we don't have that repetition necessarily. It's more of the ideas being listed rather than the exact word. And so, is one way better than the other? I'm not really sure, but they're both communicating Neruda's words as best as they can. So this poem is part of Cantos General. It is a multi-part epic journey of the American history and how we went from the solitude of the earth through to all of the warfare of the world that has seen the lands of the American continents. Similar to the previous pieces that we looked at, we have this literary devices that are so common in Neruda's work, which is the repetition through anaphora and epistrophe and asyndeton, where he lists and expands on ideas. And particularly towards the end of this poem, you can see how these are used together in a more complex way than they were before, rather than just having line after line repeat an idea. We're repeating the idea within the line and the repetition of previous ideas compounded on top of that. So if you look towards strophe 5, we have, today you'll be born harshly. Hence the traitor and the jailer believe you're submerged forever. Today, as then, you'll be born of the people. Today, you'll emerge from the coal and the dew. Today, you'll come to shake the doors with bruised hands, with bits of surviving soul, with clusters of expression that death did not extinguish, with inextricable tools hidden beneath your tatters. So you can see it's all these ideas that used to be a little bit more isolated are being compounded to really show the capabilities of language. I chose this poem in relationship to the other two poems because I think that they are an example of the really fertile time in Neruda's career, and generally a really important time in poetics globally. And so you can see there's enough growth within this short period of time, and the use of his writing as protest and as political device, and to bring hope to the people, which it took him a couple decades to realize just the significance of the impact that his work was having on the people of his country and of other countries, and um, people that weren't necessarily the literate masses, people that tended to the fields, general lower class grunt workers that he realized were the inspiration for all of his work, and he would continue to work for with his political ideals. In addition to the politics of the pieces that link them together, I think that the most important part when examining Neruda's work is the prominence of the landscape and the connection that man has to the earth, and everything about it is about life and celebration. Even in the darkest moments, we're celebrating the purpose and the martyrdom of these slain militiamen, and we're the rebirth of the insurgent America, like how powerful they were despite all of the difficulties that they faced. Not only is there something incredibly romantic about the span of time and grandeur of the elements of the earth that we see in the love poems, but it's also something about making a statement of man's minute place in the cosmos, which is how we see it in the larger scope of things. When we're talking about war and exile and just general liberty of the people, these ideas can really help ground specific moments in the larger picture of man's place on earth. And that's, I think, what allowed his work to be so global, is that, like, yes, it is specific to this struggle in Spain or the moments of time in Chile, but it is globalized in how it affects the people. It's not just about Chile specifically, but it's about all of the American continents and how we've treated the world. And so I think these poems are a great example, and I hope that you learned some of that and appreciate his work.